Yo, what's up guys? This is Aphix and welcome back to the long-awaited part 3 of my Epic Online Services tutorial series. So today we are going to be updating our plugin to the the newest version, and we're going to be updating our SDK to the newest version and getting EOS to work. And once we have completed with that, we will configure the plugin so we can log into our Epic Games account. So what we will do first is we will have to go to the online subsystem plugin, online subsystem EOS, and the master branch, and you'll have to reinstall the master branch and extract the plugin like we did in the last video. I'm not going to cover it because it takes a lot of time, but what you do is you just go up to the Unreal Engine and then go download zip and you extract it, grab that plugin. It should be an engine, plugins, then online, and you will see it somewhere down here, so right here, and you will extract that. And then after you have extracted that, we will go over and we might as well create a new Unreal Engine project, start from scratch. So I'm going to close out my Unreal Engine right now, open it up, and let's create a new C++ project, since last project is a little bit outdated at this point. Alright, once that is finished loading, click on games, go over, let's use Blink for now, and choose C++ project, and let's call this whatever you want. I'm just going to call this EOS YT tutorial, and you don't need starter content, and the rest of the settings should be good. Make sure C++ is checked and click create project. Now it's going to take a little while to compile, so I'll see you on the other side. Alright, so once that is loaded, we'll open up two instances of the File Explorer. And in the first one, let's open up this project that we just created. So over here, mine is EOS YT tutorial, and over here I'm going to make a plugins folder. So right click, new folder, let's call it plugins, double click into that, and let's go over to the place where you installed the plugin, Control C to copy and Control V to paste it in the plugins folder. Now over here there's going to be some stuff we have to fix, but first let's look at the setup. So last episode we didn't properly set up online subsystem EOS. So here is the readme, and it has all the instructions here. So first what we need to do is install the next version of the EOS SDK, which you can get on the dev dashboard, and it should be 1.10. Now I'm just going to go to the location where I installed it, which is right over here, and over here, and there's the EOS SDK 1.10, and copy that and go into EOS folder and paste it in there. Now this might take a while to copy, but in the meanwhile, let's look at this readme file. So it wants you to name the EOS file exactly like it has here. So we'll name it 1.10 since that's our version. Now the build file is also meant to work with 1.10 currently, so there's nothing we'll need to modify to make this all work. Now it has finished copying and pasting, and over here let's rename it to all caps EOS-SDK-1.10. And if you go back into online subsystem EOS, let's go to our project in Visual Studio or Writer, whatever you're using, and I'm going to open up the source, and you see there's just a bunch of simple files here. I'm going to open up this build.cs for now, and I'm going to include some modules. So I'm going to add online subsystem and online subsystem EOS. Now there's going to be a few issues before we build, and before we build I do want to do something that is required in the instructions. So if you read the readme, which you definitely should, you'll see that you have to copy the dlls you are using to the engine/binaries directory. So what you have to do is go into the EOS SDK, and that's right here, go into SDK bin, and these are the dlls. So you highlight using shift click to copy all, Control C to copy, and then go wherever you installed Unreal Engine. So I'm going to go off screen for a second to get to that location, and then go into the version you are using here and go into engine, binaries, Win64, and click here and click Control V to copy or to paste. And I already did this, so I'm not going to do it again just in case. Now once you have done that, we will have to clean our project and then build it. Alright, so once you have those DLLs imported into your engine, what we'll do is right click on our project and click clean. I already cleaned out my projects after I did the DLLs, and now when I create them I don't need to clean. But if this is your first time using the EOS DLLs, you'll need to clean your project once again by right clicking and clicking clean. Once that is finished, you will have to regenerate your project, so you'll go to your project folder, and let me open that up here. You'll need to go to your project and right click on here and click generate Visual Studio project files. Once you're finished with that, you'll have to go into the online subsystem eos.build.cs file, and you'll need to change bool bsdk installed to true because it is true. Now, an important part here is the EOS SDK version, which is what we have to name the SDK in the SDK folder. You will open up your project's configuration file by going into the project folder, into config, and double clicking on the default engine file. So we'll create a new line, and in these brackets we'll write online subsystem, and here we will write default platform service equals EOS. So I'm going to right click and click build, and we'll wait for that to go ahead. Now you can see once the build is complete, there are a few errors. So here is where we will define this macro. So you just go all the way to the top of the online subsystem eos.h and do hashtag define eos underscore subsystem, oopsie, and put text and then eos and save that. And let's see, it's also appearing in netdriver.eos, so we will make sure that we include the online subsystem eos.h and online subsystem eos.h. And there's also one more area. Oh, okay, so over in the module 2, let's see, has it, yeah, so this will be fixed since we added it to online subsystem eos.h. So before we can build, there is an issue with the online subsystem EOS Plus plugin. So what we'll do is we'll go into the plugins folder, source, plus, and it will be in private, and there will be online subsystem EOS Plus.h. And you'll double click on that, and you'll have to define EOS subsystem to text EOS. And once that is complete, you will go to your project. In Visual Studio, you'll right click and click build, but in Writer, you'll just click on this build solution button. And you can see that my build has succeeded. So I'm now going to open up my project, which will be located right here. And you'll double click on that U project file to open it up, and I will see you on the other side. Once your project has opened up, we will create a new class. So you can see we have absolutely no content here besides the game mode, and we want to create a game instance. So go up to file and click on new C++ class. But before we do that, let's go into the plugins folder. Make sure that this online platform, online subsystem EOS is enabled. And if that is enabled, we will go and do what I just said. So create a new C++ class and show all classes and write a game instance. Click on that, and let's just call it EOS game instance. And you can sort it. Oops, that was a mistake. And you can sort it in public or private. Just click on the public one and it'll automatically sort these two files out, and then click on create class. Once you have created that new file, we will open it up in whatever IDE you're using, and I'm using Writer, and it actually automatically opened it for me. Now you might get this weird error in Writer. It's just a little issue with the way Writer reads files. So to fix it for now, we'll just do, oops, and I click the insert key. Okay, so what we'll do is do double periods and then a slash, and we'll write public / EOS game instance.h. Now what we'll do is we'll create a public section in the header file. Let me zoom in if that's hard for you guys to see. And I will create a default constructor, and I'm gonna overwrite the init function, so virtual void init. And we want to create a function that will happen after initialization. So we'll call it post init. So I'm just going to call it virtual, and we don't need to make it virtual. I'm just going to make it void post init now that I think about it. Post init. And we'll need to set that on a timer. So we'll have to have a timer handle. So f timer handle, and I like to call it timer handle underscore. That's just what I put in front of all timer handles. And I'll call it post init. And create a little space there. And if you're using writer, you can immediately implement all of these by highlighting, clicking generate definitions. And once these are created, we will want to do a little bit of setup. So, and the init function we want to call super init. If you forget to do this, it'll break something in the project. And the constructor, we don't need to do anything. And in post init, we don't have to do anything yet. But let's create the timer when init happens. And let's create one more variable before we do that. So let's make a float, and let's make this a uProperty float. uProperty, this is a mistake. uProperty, and let's make it edit defaults only, and it'll be a float, and I'll call it post init delay. And I'm just gonna set that to 5 seconds for now, so 5.f. And here I'll do get world arrow get timer manager dot set timer handle post init, comma this, then and EOS game instance, so it's a function reference, double colons post init, and the rate will be 1.f. This doesn't matter because we're not going to loop it, which is why we're going to put false next. And for the initial delay, we'll put in our new variable post init delay. And that is complete. So after a delay of 5 seconds, it will call this post init function. Now this post init function, we want to do things like logging in, for instance, and to do that, we'll need to configure our Unreal Engine plugin. So if you go to your project, you'll go to project settings, and if you scroll down, go down to Epic Online Services, and I do not want you to see my settings, so go down, click on Epic Online Services, and what you will do is fill out all the data that you filled out in sample constants.h in the first tutorial. Now I'm going to go back into writer, and this will do all the default setup for us. One thing that we'll want to do is add support for logging into an Epic Games account via the web login. Now this requires a little bit of plugin code, which you guys might not be willing to do, but luckily I have a little solution for you guys. So what we'll do is we'll go into the fuser manager EOS file. So if we go over to plugins, source of online subsystem EOS, not plus, and then go into private, we'll go into user manager EOS.cpp and do Control F to find and search login. And here you can see that there's this one, fuser manager login. And if we scroll down, these are the ways to log in. Now they does not currently support web login, so what we'll do is click enter, and under the developer check we'll write else if account credentials, and that's a mistake, credentials.type double equals text web login. You could call this anything you want. I'm going to do web login, so it's straightforward. Type in credentials.type equals EOS underscore e login credential type EOS LCT account portal. Now we'll write credentials.id equals null pointer and credentials.token equals null pointer. Now that this is complete, we'll go over to our EOS game instance.cpp. And let's go into the .h function to create a login function. So we'll write here void login, and let's implement that. Now once that is implemented, we'll want to add some code here. So in this login function, we'll have to create an object of a structure called fonlineAccountCredentials, and it is in the online identity interface, as you can see here. So if I click on that, it will actually include it, so you will need to include this. Now we'll call these credentials account credentials, and we'll set the ID to be just blank text, and we'll also set the token to be blank text, and we'll also set in the type, and we'll set the type to be web login, and we'll do 2 new lines, and we'll need to use the login function by the identity interface. So we'll do this: I online subsystem pointer, and it cannot be found, so I'll need to include this and just include online subsystem.h. I'm just going to call this OSS equals I online subsystem :get, and this will get the subsystem, the online subsystem that has been instantiated for your game session. Now we'll check if that is valid, and if it is valid, we'll get the identity interface, which is basically what allows us to log in. So I'll do I online identity pointer identity equals OSS dash get identity interface, and we'll check if identity dot is valid. Now, I might be wondering why I'm doing this dot is valid instead of like an arrow, and that is because this is a shared pointer, and we'll have to use the dot operator to access the shared pointer member methods. So here I will do identity dash or arrow login, and the first parameter is the local user num, and that is 0. If you're gonna have a game where there's 2 people playing on one computer, then you might need a number different than 0. Otherwise, you'll just use 0. And for F online account credentials, we'll use account credentials. Now, what this is doing behind the scenes is it's passing in and doing this login function. And since EOS is our preferred OSS, what it's doing is it's calling the EOS login function with these parameters, and it will do the web login. Now remember that this only happens if the login is successful, or just note that this only happens if EOS is being active and if it's being used in the project. Now let's make a function called post account login. And first I want to create sort of a tick function for init. So here I'm going to do void tick, and I'm just going to call it utick just so we know it's not the actual tick function. And I will implement it. And we'll also need a timer handle, timer handle underscore tick. And here I'm just going to copy that. And over in the init function, I'm going to duplicate this line using Control D. And I want to activate the tick timer handle. And I want it to call tick. And here, let's create a new float variable. So, and that's utick. And go to your UEOS game instance, and let's create a float variable that is uProperty edit defaults only. And let's call it tick interval. And I'm just going to put it as 1 second for now, since we don't need to check more than that. Now I want it to loop for the tick interval amount of time. I want it to loop, and I want the delay to be 0 initially. So basically the ticking will start on right when this is called. So over on utick, we will get the online identity pointer. So we can just copy this here, get rid of this identity, and we do have to copy this line too. Now this isn't really the most effective way to do things, but for now, for our testing purposes, this is how we'll do it. And we'll check if identity is valid, and we will UE log, and this will be log temp. Let's use a UE log online. So what this does is it puts a UE log in the online category. This will be an error, just so it's easier to see, and do text, and in quotes do %s, and then as the third parameter we'll pass in identity, and then arrow get player nickname, and the local user num will be 0. And remember, this needs to be an f string pointer, so we use that arrow or star operator here. Now this should be the entirety of our login code. So now we will build our project and we'll see if there are any errors or if we can continue. Alright, once your project has finished building, you will be able to go to its location, double click on the U project file to open it up. So once your project has opened up, what we'll do is go into the project settings, go down to Epic Online Services, and you will create a new artifact and you'll use your default artifact name and fill out the settings that we filled out in sampleconstants.h. And then you will enable overlay, social overlay, Epic account services, cross-platform user IDs, mirror stats to EOS, and all these other crossplay settings. Now, if you go back to your map, we'll have to do one more thing in project settings. So go up and go search details and search game instance, and we'll choose the EOS game instance we just created. Right. So I forgot to add the login to the post-init function, so we'll just have to do that really quick. All you have to do is type in login, and then UTIC will handle printing out this the nickname. So right here, the player nickname. And once you have done that, make sure your editor is closed, and you will click build solution. Now, once the build is complete, go to your file explorer, and I'm just going to drag it off to the side and just open up your project. Alright, once that is loaded up, make sure that you have an instance of Google Chrome open where you are currently signed into your Epic Games account, just to make life easier. If you're not signed into your Epic Games account, that is also okay. Once your project has opened up, click play, and we'll wait for post-init to be triggered. And it says this is valid, and you'll see in the tab you have opened up, it'll prompt you to sign into your Epic account. Now I'm just going to go off screen. I'm going to sign in with Epic Games, and a big issue with this is that I have two-factor authentication on, so now I have to go get that special code. And you will then be prompted to accept the unverified application. Just to click continue to app and allow, because you are the one controlling this app. And then you'll wait for a second for the callbacks to be called, and it will tell you your username. And you have basically signed into your Epic Games account in your Unreal Engine project. So I hope you guys enjoyed this EOS tutorial, and the next one we might do friends or stats depending on the way the Epic Games plugin evolves over the time period. Once again, I hope you enjoy. If you have any questions or suggestions or just want to hang out, feel free to join the Discord server. The link will be in the description down below.